When the car flipped and started catching fire, everyone backed away. But pizza delivery driver Danny Rodriguez ran straight toward it. Because someone with 10 years of military medical training knows fire is dangerous. But he also knows there's life inside. "Stand back," he shouted to everyone. "This is my job." Before we dive into this incredible story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if this story moves you, make sure you subscribe, because tomorrow I have something very special planned for you. At 7:45 p.m. on a Friday evening, Danny Rodriguez was running his usual route through the suburbs of Phoenix, delivering hot pizzas to families settling in for weekend movie nights. At 33, Danny had been working for Mario's Pizza Palace for 2 years, ever since he'd moved to Arizona looking for a quieter life than his previous career had provided. The work was honest, straightforward, and allowed him to serve his community in a simple but meaningful way. Danny's delivery car was nothing special. A well-maintained Honda Civic with the illuminated pizza sign on the roof and insulated delivery bags in the back seat. But passengers would have noticed unusual details if they looked closely. A comprehensive first aid kit secured under the driver's seat, emergency road flares in the glove compartment, and a small duffel bag in the trunk that contained supplies most pizza delivery drivers had never heard of. Tonight's deliveries were typical for a Friday. Families ordering dinner, college students stocking up for weekend parties, elderly customers who appreciated having hot meals brought to their doors. Danny approached each delivery with professional courtesy and systematic efficiency that most customers attributed to good customer service training. What they didn't realize was that Danny's approach to delivery work had been shaped by 10 years of Army Special Forces route planning optimized for emergency response time to any location. His vehicle maintenance ensured reliability under stress. His situational awareness remained constantly active, scanning for potential problems that most civilian drivers would never notice. His current delivery was routine. 3 large pizzas to the Morrison family on Maple Street, celebrating their daughter's birthday. Danny had delivered to them before and knew the house, the family, and exactly how long the drive should take under normal traffic conditions. At exactly 7:52 p.m., Danny was approaching the intersection of Maple and Oak when he witnessed something that changed everything. A red sedan running the traffic light at high speed collided with a blue SUV, making a left turn, the impact so violent that both vehicles were thrown across the intersection. The sedan flipped twice before coming to rest upside down, its fuel tank ruptured and gasoline spreading across the asphalt. Worse, Danny could see smoke beginning to rise from the engine compartment, the universal warning sign that fire was imminent. The SUV had skidded sideways and slammed into a concrete barrier, its front end crumpled and steam rising from the radiator. Through the spider-webbed windshield, Danny could see at least 2 occupants, neither of them moving. Other drivers had stopped, but they were maintaining what they thought was a safe distance from the wreckage. Someone was already calling 911. Others were taking photos with their phones, but nobody was approaching the vehicles to check for survivors. Danny's response was immediate and automatic. He pulled over, grabbed his emergency kit from under the seat, and ran directly toward the overturned sedan. His trained eye was already conducting a rapid triage assessment. Potential fuel fire, unknown number of casualties. Emergency response probably 8 to 10 minutes away. "Hey," shouted a bystander. "Stay back. That car's gonna blow." Danny didn't slow down. Special Forces medical training had taught him that burning vehicles rarely exploded like in movies, but people trapped inside them would definitely die without immediate intervention. "Stand back," Danny yelled to the gathering crowd, his voice carrying unmistakable authority. "This is my job." He reached the overturned sedan and dropped to his knees to peer through the shattered passenger window. Inside, a middle-aged woman was trapped upside down by her seatbelt, conscious but disoriented, blood running from a head laceration. In the back seat, a teenage girl was unconscious, her breathing shallow and rapid. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Danny called out, his voice calm and professional. "My name is Danny. I'm a medic. I'm going to get you out of there." The woman's eyes focused on him with desperate hope. "My daughter. Please help my daughter." Danny was already assessing the situation with practiced efficiency. The smoke was getting thicker, but the actual fire hadn't started yet. probably 2 to 3 minutes before it became critical. The woman appeared to have a concussion and possible neck injury, but was stable. The teenager was unconscious with signs of potential internal bleeding. "I need to get you out first, then your daughter," Danny explained, pulling medical supplies from his kit. "I'm going to cut your seatbelt and help you slide out. Try not to move your neck." As he worked, bystanders began to realize they weren't watching a random Good Samaritan. They were observing a medical professional conducting a complex rescue operation with systematic precision. "Are you a paramedic?" asked a woman who'd approached despite Danny's warnings. "Army Special Forces medic," Danny replied without looking up, using trauma shears to cut through the seatbelt. 10 years. This is what I do." The woman's extraction required careful coordination to prevent spinal injury. While working around broken glass, Danny supported her weight as the seatbelt released, guiding her through the passenger window with movements that demonstrated extensive training in combat casualty care. "Sit here," Danny instructed, helping her to a safe distance from the vehicle. "Don't try to stand. You might have a concussion." He quickly examined her head wound. Superficial scalp laceration. No signs of skull fracture. Pupils equal and reactive. "You're going to be okay," he assured her. "Now I need to get your daughter." The teenager's extraction was more complex. She remained unconscious, her vital signs suggesting possible internal injuries that made movement dangerous without proper spinal immobilization. But the smoke was getting thicker, and Danny could hear the distinct crackling sound that meant fire was about to engulf the vehicle. "I need help," Danny called to the crowd. "Someone with a steady hand to hold this cervical collar while I pull her out." A man stepped forward, John, an off-duty firefighter who'd been driving home from work. "I've got medical training. Tell me what you need." Danny handed him a cervical collar from his kit. "Keep her head and neck aligned while I work. Just like EMT training, but faster." Working together, they extracted the unconscious girl with professional efficiency. Danny's combat medical experience combining with John's emergency services training to perform a textbook spinal immobilization under extreme conditions. With both victims clear of the vehicle, Danny could focus on more detailed medical assessment and treatment. The woman had a minor head injury, but was alert and responsive. The teenager was his primary concern: unconscious, possible head trauma, signs of internal bleeding that required immediate intervention. "I need someone to maintain pressure on this wound," Danny instructed another bystander, showing them proper technique for controlling bleeding. "Press here, steady pressure." Hands moved with practiced precision, checking pulse, blood pressure, breathing patterns, all while monitoring for signs of deteriorating condition that would require more aggressive treatment. "What's in that bag?" asked John, watching Danny work with obvious professional respect. "Combat medical supplies," Danny replied, starting in 4-line with one-handed technique that most hospital nurses would have envied. "Saline, trauma bandages, emergency medications. I keep it current even though I'm civilian now." The sound of sirens was finally audible in the distance, but Danny knew that every minute counted when dealing with potential internal bleeding and head trauma. His field treatment could mean the difference between recovery and permanent disability. "Why pizza delivery?" John asked, genuinely curious why someone with Danny's obvious medical skills was working in food service. Danny smiled grimly while monitoring the teenager's vital signs. Wanted a quiet life after 10 years of combat zones. But apparently the skills follow you wherever you go. The paramedics arrived at 8:03 p.m., exactly 11 minutes after the initial impact. They approached the scene expecting typical traffic accident casualties and instead found a professionally managed medical operation already in progress. "What's the status?" asked lead paramedic Sarah Chun, recognizing immediately that someone with serious medical training had been working. Danny provided a concise patient report that impressed both paramedics with its clinical accuracy and completeness. Adult female, approximately 45, minor head laceration, possible concussion, vitals stable. Teenage female, approximately 16, unconscious, possible intracranial pressure, signs of internal bleeding, for established, vitals declining slowly. "Who are you?" Chun asked, noting the quality of Danny's medical intervention. "Army Special Forces medic," 10 years active duty, Danny replied, helping transfer his patients to proper pizza delivery, but the training never really goes away. The second paramedic, Tom Rodriguez, examined Danny's work with obvious professional approval. Outstanding field treatment. You probably saved the kid's life with that four and the speed of extraction. Both patients were loaded into ambulances within minutes. The professional handoff seamless despite the unconventional circumstances. The mother squeezed Danny's hand as they prepared to transport her. "Thank you," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "You saved her life." Danny watched the ambulances depart, their sirens fading into the distance. Around him, the crowd was beginning to disperse, but several people remained, staring at him with new understanding of what they'd witnessed. "That was incredible," said John, the off-duty firefighter. "I've never seen field medicine like that outside of a hospital setting." Danny was repacking his medical kit, checking supplies, and noting what needed to be replaced. Combat medic training. When people get hurt in places where hospitals are hundreds of miles away, you learn to improvise and make do. A police officer approached for Danny's statement, but the conversation quickly shifted when he learned about Danny's background. Special Forces medic to pizza delivery seems like quite a career change, Officer Martinez observed. "Wanted something peaceful," Danny explained. "Figure delivering pizza was about as low stress as civilian jobs get." He gestured toward the wreckage being cleared by emergency crews. "Apparently stress finds you anyway sometimes." The tow truck drivers were removing the vehicles, and traffic was beginning to flow normally through the intersection. In an hour, there would be no sign that anything unusual had happened here. But several lives had been changed permanently by Danny's presence and skills. His phone buzzed with a text from Mario, his boss. "Heard you were involved in that accident.
Everything
on the
okay?
news. Take the night off if you need it." Danny smiled slightly. The news crews had arrived while he was giving his statement, but he'd avoided interviews. Tomorrow there might be a small article about a traffic accident and quick emergency response, but they'd probably get the details wrong. By 9:30 p.m., Danny was back in his Honda Civic, the remaining pizza deliveries in his insulated bags now cold and destined for the dumpster. His manager had told him to call at night, but Danny knew he'd be back tomorrow, driving the same routes, serving the same community. His phone rang with a call from his old unit commander, saw the news report online. "Pizza delivery driver saves lives in traffic accident." "Sounds familiar, Doc." Danny smiled, using his old military nickname. "Just happened to be in the right place at the right time, sir." Skills came in handy. They always do. Outstanding work maintaining your medical readiness. The Army trained you well. "Yes, sir. Once a medic, always a medic, I guess." Danny drove home through quiet suburban streets, past houses where families were settling in for peaceful Friday evenings. Porch lights glowed warmly over neat lawns, and the scent of grilled food drifted in the cool air. Inside, people laughed over dinner, children watched cartoons, and life moved with the steady rhythm of a small town winding down at week's endpoint 2 years ago. When he'd first taken this job, Danny thought his life-saving days were over. The military had taught him to stay calm under fire, treat casualties in hostile environments, and improvise when every second counted. Back then, danger had been expected, part of the landscape. Civilian life seemed another world entirely. Hanging up his uniform, he imagined a future free of adrenaline, where those skills would quietly fade. Delivering pizzas felt like the opposite of combat, simple, honest work. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept him connected to the routine, the friendly greetings, and the way faces lit up when their order arrived. But tonight had been different. A simple delivery turned urgent when an elderly customer collapsed. Danny moved without thinking, checking the airway, stabilizing breathing, keeping the heart going until paramedics arrived. The training he thought he'd left behind surfaced instantly, as natural as breathing. Driving on, he realized such skills never became obsolete. You could leave the uniform behind, but the readiness to act stayed with you. Sometimes the most important saves didn't happen in combat zones, but on quiet streets where life felt safe until it wasn't. Danny pulled into his driveway, cutting the engine. In the silence, he could still hear faint sirens fading. Somewhere, a life had been given another chance, and for tonight, that was enough. His medical training had never truly left him. It had simply waited in the background, ready for the right moment. Years of urgent decisions and long nights in military tents had carved those skills deep into him. Now, instead of treating soldiers in war zones, he was saving civilians on familiar streets, armed only with what he could carry and his steady. The mission was always the same: preserve life when seconds mattered. Sometimes that meant operating under enemy fire, sometimes crawling into the wreckage of a burning vehicle, speaking steady words to a frightened stranger. The setting, the uniforms, even the language might change, but the promise to act when it counted never did. Danny Doc Rodriguez lived quietly in Phoenix, delivering pizzas, chatting with neighbors, and helping his community one call at a time. To most, he was just a friendly face, but he carried a lifetime of readiness, unseen until the instant someone's life depended on it. Some warriors retire completely. Others simply find new battlegrounds, serving quietly until the day their skills are needed most. Have you ever encountered someone whose hidden skills made all the difference in an emergency? Share your stories in the comments below, and let us know what city you're watching from today. If this story of quiet readiness and life-saving expertise resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And don't miss the 2 compelling stories appearing on your screen right now. Click and discover more tales of everyday heroes with extraordinary backgrounds. Because sometimes the most important rescues are performed by people who chose to serve pepperoni instead of patience, until someone's life depends on remembering the difference. See you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.